All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the April 8th workshop of the Board of County Commissioners. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first thing on our agenda today is a letter of support for Empire Electric. And we have Josh Dellinger and Ginny Johnson. Would you guys come on down? And I'll just remind you to pull the mic as close to, either way, wherever you want to go. But when you talk, just get it as close as you can and turn it on. Floor is yours, Josh.
All right, well, thanks for considering our letter of support here. We are looking to apply for some grant funding to underground lines up the Dolores River, and we're seeking partnerships from various stakeholders throughout the community, and we would certainly appreciate support from Montezuma County with this grant request. We'd be happy to answer any questions you guys have for us about this request, yeah.
The only question I have, is it enough? After the weekend.
Yeah. What were you gonna say? We're we're trying to get as much of that undergrounded as we can. So we're going after a pretty big chunk. We hope it'll get it. What do we think it'll get us? How many miles?
We're hoping for 26 miles of line
26
converted
miles?
to underground.
26
Yeah.
miles.
So is that all in like CDOT's right of way, or is that in your own right of way that you already have currently?
We have existing right-of-way that's specific to overhead, so we will have to perfect that and go underground, but it will be in our existing right-of-way, mostly. Environmental studies haven't been completed, so there will be some impacts there that we're not aware of at the moment. And then just working with the landowners where we have right-of-way, they may not be amenable to underground, so we might have to reroute.
So you may have a combination of both, overhead, underground, or you
We want to get it all
underground?
underground in these
Yeah.
high fire danger areas, so it will probably just be working through what landowners agree to, and do we have to reroute around somebody if they won't agree to it. But I think the goal is 100% underground.
There may be a couple of river crossings that have to stay overhead.
River crossings
Because
are gonna
river
be fun.
crossings going underground are very challenging.
Yeah.
So we want to get as much of it underground as we can, but there may be a few spots where we do have to leave a span or two overhead.
But at the moment, our intention is to only at a river crossing be overhead. Everything else would be underground. Hopefully.
Yep.
I really don't have any questions at all. I think it's a great idea. I think it's, obviously going underground is probably a little more expensive than overhead, but.
That's why that's why we're hoping to have a lot of this federal funding that's out there to get put used to a really good project for our area, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Commissioner. Just a little housekeeping item. I don't know, Commissioner Lindsay, I kind of doubt that you're
I
going to
can't
sign
sign
this,
that.
and so we should probably pull this signature block off of this letter just so it doesn't look like somebody was opposed to this thing.
Okay. That's easy enough to do. Questions, sir?
I don't have any. It'd be a good project if they can get it done. Fantastic.
And part of our process, what we're proposing through this is to work with stakeholders and other entities when we have an open trench, and if there's anybody else who can jump in that trench with us while it's open, or if somebody else has a trench and we can jump in, just to really work together to make it as efficient as possible when we're doing the work up there.
Okay.
Good.
Anything else? Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. I like it.
I like it too.
I like it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a great day.
They know we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
just discussion today. Okay, next up is, we have a grant request. Shea, Coulon, and Robert Dobry, come on down. The first one we're looking at is a high visibility enforcement grant. And who wants to?
I'll be presenting the high-vis grant, sir. So the CDOT high-vis grant is a continuation of a grant that we have had for several years. It works directly with CDOT. They schedule different enforcement periods for DUI enforcement shifts throughout the year, including 4th of July, Labor Day, the holiday party season, New Year's, events like that, just to supplement overtime shifts for our deputies. It's a total of 10 shifts. We're looking at $3,000 for that grant. And according to Colorado State Patrol, last year we had 64 arrests made in Montezuma County that were DUI involved, and most of those were over those shifts. So.
Okay, so is this just a reimbursement of the $3,000? So my question is, it's 10 shifts. Is that 10 full shifts?
That's 10
So
full shifts.
80 hours?
That's, no, sir, so that's 10 shift, that would be, I believe, it's a $300 shift, so I'm not sure as far as the timeframes on, like, how long
So
that
how long is
specific
the
shift is.
shift?
It would be one evening. Like, whenever those deputies pick up for an overtime shift, it would be a stretch of time that they go out on the road that evening. $300 would cover that particular shift. I believe it's an 8 to 10 hour shift.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So this is just like a, I mean, it's no match, but this definitely does not cover 80 hours. If there's an 8-hour shift, okay, and they're doing 10 of them, that's 80 hours. It's not, the $3,000 does not cover that. Where are we getting the rest of the money is my question.
Right.
Or did I lose you?
No, the rest of the money would come from regular staffing hours.
So these are not these are overtime.
They are
shifts.
considered overtime shifts.
So,
This is a continuation of an existing grant that we have maintained over the past few years that Wanda has maintained. This is the first time I've been in contact with this grant as far as how it is managed.
because I question the reimbursement of $3,000 if we're spending 80 hours out there at overtime. $3,000 doesn't cover that. Not anywhere close.
I may be mistaken. It may be a 4-hour shift. I
Okay.
don't have.
I'm just asking the questions. What are the shifts? I mean, you told me how many days, but
Commissioner, if I
it's-
recall correctly, I think there were 6-hour shifts.
Okay.
If I could be wrong, but that's my recollection.
so it's still 60 hours. I'd just like to have some more clarification on, because the rest of it's going to come out of a budgetary line item. How much are we taking out of the budgetary line item? Because right now, it's not telling me that on there at all. It says our matching funds is 0, and I don't believe that's the case. Because if you're taking it out of your regular budget, 0 would mean 0. Or we're only going to work up to $3,000. So that's not going to cover 10 shifts. So which is it?
That I don't.
Just real quick, Commissioner, we also, we pay $50 per hour for the shift, so per hour for those DUI shifts.
Okay.
So it's,
So I guess I may have misspoken. When I was saying it's fully covered, it fully covers the shift. It doesn't cover our fringe. That comes out of the regular budget.
Okay, that's what I'm getting at,
Okay.
is our in-kind, we do have cash value into this.
Yes, as part of having deputies and having
Right.
people out on the street, yes.
Okay. Okay, questions, gentlemen?
No, 50 makes it right.
If they're 6-hour shifts, yeah.
Yeah, 6-hour
30.
shifts, that's $3,000. So.
But then we're covering everything else.
Right. This is kind of like a pickup shift. in a
Yeah,
sense.
is all they're paying for is the
Time.
deputy. We're paying for everything else, the vehicle,
Right.
the,
Yeah, and those,
everything else that goes with the deputy is gonna be covered by us. So the in-kind should
Yeah.
actually be displayed, in my opinion, but
They-
maybe not.
well, and they don't, that, the grant, I can't pick up in kind or any of the other stuff. They basically reimburse you for the time. That's what how the grant is structured. I don't have any way to capture the miles on vehicles
Right.
and any of that other fringe stuff. I think that's more in just the regular doing business as a police force.
Okay.
Yeah.
Deal. All right. Okay, next one. A court security cash fund grant, so,
So I wrote up a kind of a memo for you. MCSO the sheriff's office, had previously applied and received this grant since 2008. We were ineligible last year and did not receive the grant. We are eligible again this year, meeting two of the 4 high priority targets relating to the size of our county and low income nature of our county and things like that. In the past, there had been 4 deputies at the court. The sheriff's office would like to request this grant for an additional deputy to bring it back up to 4. I spoke with Eric Hogue at the court. He and Judge Plew support the grant. I've spoken with Wanda. They recognize fully that it's a grant-funded position and that if that funding were to go away, that position would also go away.
Isn't this the one we've been having trouble with in the past,
I've-
getting enough funding?
I've worked on this a
Yeah.
couple different times with Judge Walker when he was on the bench. And, we desperately begged the state to allocate some of these funds for, I think, 2 additional positions.
2 is what
we had
two is
asked
what
for.
they had in the past.
Yeah.
two is what, yeah.
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 You can't apply for additional, you can only apply for additional funding. You can't apply for something that you're already funding. So since we have 3 there, we would only be eligible to apply for 1 additional as part of this because it's funded as part of our budget this year.
Question,
No.
Commissioner? I mean, we find ourselves in this situation right now, again, with FTEs. When you start adding FTEs, even though they are a grant-funded FTE, the expectation is always to continue that, which is just another continuation of funding, which at some points in time, we just absolutely don't have that. So I'm leery because of an FTE, just from where I sit, and from what we're going through right now.
Which I 100% understand.
So-
I originally, I reached out both to Dustin and to Jim McClain to see if there were technology needs or other security upgrades. Neither of them had anything that we could go after that way. And in speaking with Wanda and with Eric, they both feel that an additional deputy would be the best use of these funds if we were to get them.
So do they have court every day in all 4 courtrooms?
I don't know, but I don't believe so.
So then why would we need 4 full-time FTEs if they're not having court in every courtroom every day?
Commissioner, I can maybe speak to at least the logic that was put behind this in the past. So, in the front of the courtroom, they've got the metal detector that somebody bans, and then they've got the screen that shows all of the courtrooms and the whole staff, so that's a second person. And then oftentimes they'll have court going on in 2 separate courtrooms. Sometimes they'll have more than 2 courtrooms, but I think it's fairly normal to have a docket in one of those district courtrooms and one of the county courtrooms, and sometimes more. But the logic would be a deputy in each of 2 courtrooms, the person at the TV screen, and then the person running the metal detector in the front.
And the one other thing I did want to highlight is that with 3 court deputies, there is no sick or vacation coverage there. So if one of those deputies is out, you're now having to pull from another division, either the jail or patrol, to step in there. So that would be an additional benefit to the county, is provide some additional coverage in those times.
What is standard in a courtroom, or what is standard in a combined courts building? Does that just depend on the size of the building, or
we
what?
looked at this, and I mean, it was difficult to pin down because a lot of counties our size have separate buildings for county court and district court, like we used to have. And so now with the 4 courtrooms in the building, I mean, it's difficult to know. It's partially size. I can tell you from having been in court a couple years ago when we had a pretty significant disturbance in one of the rooms. I know everybody was certainly pleased in that room to have deputies available, because it was a job that took more than one deputy, and it happened fast.
Okay.
I think that's all I have.
Okay. Again, I just want to go on the record by saying I'm extremely leery by adding FTEs, because the expectation is going to be that we come back and fund it, and that may not be the case.
And deputies, when they are hired as FTEs, have been made aware that if the funding for that is eliminated, then their position is eliminated if they can't be absorbed into another division like detentions.
And just for clarification, if this grant's received, does it necessarily have to go towards a new FTE, or can it be used to fulfill an existing FTE's budget?
It can't be used to fulfill an existing thing. It's for additional. We can't use it to cover one of the existing 3.
And see, and that's interesting, because in the past, this money was used to cover that 3rd position.
In the past, I think the way it was, because in the time that the county was receiving the grant, it was basically the county was funding 2 positions,
Yep.
and the state was funding 2 positions through this grant program. Yep. And when that grant went away last year, they dropped 1 position, and then the county has funded 3, because I think that is the bare minimum that you could.
And so, I mean, I just wonder from a budgetary standpoint, I mean.
Well, see, what I'm going to is this covers the fringe, and it covers the wage, but what about the indirect costs that everybody forgets about? So we have all the indirect costs that are going to go along with this. So
I think it certainly seems to me that it's worth, I mean, this rural court security funding is meant for courthouses like ours. I mean, that's the whole reason this fund was set up, and so it makes sense to go for the funding.
So why
I don't know
were
how you.
Why were we
I don't know how
turned down
you.
last time? Because we just applied for this.
About a year ago.
Yeah.
We were turned down because we fell outside of categories. They have 4. There's basically 4 criteria that they require. It's counties in which the total population is below the state median, we don't qualify for that one. Counties in which the per capita income is below the state median, we do qualify for that one. Counties in which the county population living below the federal poverty line is above the state median, we do qualify for that one. And then counties in which property tax revenues are below the state median, Montezuma County basically is the state median, so we don't qualify for that. But we qualify for 2 of the 4, which puts us into the 2nd level of priority. So a lot of the much smaller counties have higher priority than we do, but we do still qualify as a high priority county.
Question, sir?
No, I think, I mean, I can understand where they need that numbers, because just going in there and stuff, just like you said, somebody has to be there for where they check through the station. I mean, I can understand where they need 4 people when they are having court. I just, how they fund these things just like them not being able to fund these positions before.
Yeah, that's,
It all comes back to us, just like
Yeah.
building that courthouse and doing all the things you have, end up doing. It still all comes back to the taxpayers I have to pay for mandates from the state of Colorado. Because they mandate that if they decide you gotta build a courthouse, you gotta build it.
question?
Nope. I'm good.
Okay, we'll vote tomorrow, but just from me to you, I am leery on FTEs because I know what the expectation it comes back to us the next year in the budgetary cycle. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
No, I know. That's just like all those weed grants and everything else. It's the same damn deal.
All right, department reports. Our clerk is first, Miss Percell.
I brought some moral support.
All right,
We noticed.
well, come on down.
Just trying to out numbers.
Yeah.
So I see it's an equal number now, 3 against 3?
Well, you've got 5 up there.
Well, yeah, but
Lawyer.
We brought our lawyer.
You brought your lawyer. Just in case. We're kind of evil, so. I believe Jerry's going to start with the recording report.
Okay.
okay,
So for last year,
closer.
I have a report for last year's for Montezuma County Recording Department, and it shows the report of fees was $211,002.34. Paid to the state was $9,715. The clerk's fee that we got to keep was $196,317.34. And that shows, that is for, we have over 700 different kind of documents we can record in our department. We do death certificates, we do birth certificates. I do the county liquor license, and we also have at least 4 special permits a year for liquor license that we do for the county.
What about marriage license?
The marriage license we did last year was, I have that too.
Do you have any available?
Thrown under the bus.
Get any blank ones?
We did 169 last year for marriage
Did you
license.
hear that?
You could have got him over, almost over 200.
He's getting thrown under the bus.
Yes, he is.
It's a tough crowd for a Monday.
And it's easy. You can come into our office and get married right there, sign your marriage license, and be done. You don't have to go to the courts. You don't have to have a,
He can't afford it right now.
it's a lot cheaper than getting a divorce. No, it's easy. It's easy, and you can afford it. These guys would pay for it for you. That
take
would
up
be
the
your wedding
collection.
gift.
No pressure.
No pressure at all.
You got me blushing now. It takes a lot to shake me at a public meeting. You guys got me today.
So last year, we printed out around 1,829 death certificates. And it's important for death certificates for people to realize that if somebody's passed away, they also need to record those. So that name does go off that property. When somebody passes away, it's recorded. And then the birth certificates, we did 661 birth certificates last year. And those are $20 each to get printed out, and then to record them, we record them at $13 a piece. I mean, not birth certificates, yeah, death certificates we record. And for the liquor license, we charge, just on the renewals, we obtain, there's different kinds of liquor license prices. Like to have a beer and wine one, the county charges $163.75 to be able to do that. And like a hotel restaurant, it's $175. And for somebody to do an application just to get one, it's $1,100 for the county to be able to, for people to apply for those. That comes into the county. It's very expensive to, and then the renewals, like, you know, goes way down, like $163 is just the renewals, but to actually get the license itself is a pretty expensive process. And we also have what's, went to conference a couple years ago, and this company offered us a cards to give to our marriage people that they can go to do their Social Security card and other things, that they don't have to go to the Social Security office, and we get $5 per every one of those cards for the county, for these guys when they come in to get the marriage license. All they have to do is, there's a number on this card. They use that number when they go and apply for their Social Security card and stuff, and then we get those funds.
It's almost
And
like,
about last year, it was, I would average, I'd say we got over $300 from this company that paid us just for these people for using their service. And they don't charge us for these cards, no nothing. We don't pay a single thing out for these cards. It's all free for us, and the money that we get is $5 per person who uses this entity for them.
Good deal.
And no going to Durango to Social Security or anything like that to
it's
have to
almost
do your
like
card.
one-stop shopping, isn't it?
I do have a list of here of doc types that we do and how much money that we made last year off of each document. So like a warranty deed is one of our most current ones that we do the most of. And last year, for warranty deeds, we do electronic recording also, which ever since COVID has been a really big thing. And for electronic, on warranty deeds, we did $13,575 in e-recording. And for the fees, a total of $14,805 was the total for just warranty deeds that got recorded with us. But like I say, we have over 700 different kinds of types of documents that we record. The deeds of trust, I mean, there's just so much stuff that we record there. And I was going to see what a deed of trust was. I don't see the deed of trust in here. Oh, yes, there is. We did over $50,000 in deeds of trust that people record with us in the county. So, and we,
So that's recorded on every transaction then, right? Every property transaction? Is that,
Every recorded document.
every
Yeah.
recorded document, yeah. And we charge, like $13 for the first page and $5 for every page after per document that we record there. And we also record DD 214s for free. Anybody that has a DD 214 that wants to have it recorded with us, it's all confidential. Nobody can see those. But if they come in and need one for like motor vehicle, they can come over and get one from us. Or if they've lost theirs or something, they can come get a certified copy from us. So it's really a good deal to these people know that the DD 214s are recorded and that they can do it for free and nobody can see them. It's all confidential. That's about all I have. Is there anything else that you can think of?
Sounds good.
So I don't know if you guys want copies of this. I didn't get it turned in to anybody. But if you want copies of everything that we record and how much we've made last year on just recording alone, I
I think you
have copies of
can
that.
leave it with Ms. Percell and we can add it to our minutes tomorrow.
Okay.
I can do that.
Would be great, because then that way it's viewed also.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jerry.
Motor vehicle.
Next.
She did send.
You want my glasses?
Can you make that really
know if you can
large,
see.
Travis?
I don't don't know if you can see with my glasses, but.
Oh, no.
Mine's for you, not mine's for your side, not far-sighted, okay.
Okay, so I just did a couple of reports. I did monthly reports on all the business that we did, the breakdown of the fees and different types of transactions. Sorry. And that's pretty much what this report is. If you have any questions.
Those are monthly reports?
Yes.
She sent to you?
These are monthly. There's,
So it gives you a breakdown of
that's
how
December.
we disperse the funds that we receive.
Mm-hmm.
And what part goes to the county, what part goes to the state, what part we get to keep, which isn't very much.
no.
Yeah.
Actually, it's very little. Everything, mostly, it all goes away.
Pretty much.
Goes pretty much to the state.
Or
Right.
to the county.
Or yeah.
It shows you how taxes are dispersed to the municipalities. Tells you how much we send for public vital statistics records to the state for birth certificates and that sort of thing. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, there's some other reports in there too. There's a yearly report showing how many. Did you only get one, Travis?
That's all I got, man.
Oh,
Might have,
Did you say something about the total number of vehicles?
yeah.
might have this one.
Oh, yeah, that right
There you go.
there. This is a yearly report, just showing the different numbers that we do every month. You didn't get this one either? This is just another like breakdown, type of transactions. This is like how many liens we filed and, it's just top 50 lien holders. We work with a bunch, but these are,
That's a big number.
yeah.
And those are just liens?
Yeah, those are just liens for the year.
And then this is motor vehicle transaction.
Yeah.
Data. And that should have a total for the yearly number of transactions we did, so.
Is there one at the very bottom?
There
Is that the
is.
total?
Yes,
I
I
can't.
can't see it either.
It's like 400 and something, 407,000.
Yes.
432
No.
million. 770,322. That's like winning the Powerball.
No, do you guys have any questions?
Mm-mm. Nope.
So my report, we're missing one department is elections, and I wanted to talk to you guys about elections. I've got several things on my list. It's actually a 4-page thing I wanted to read to you guys. Don't know if you want to hear everything there is to know about that all at once, but I did want to cover a couple things that you guys have been asked about, so I'm just going to read it if that's okay for you gentlemen. Constituents have stood before you on several occasions and either proclaimed the county clerk or the office of the county clerk as committed or allowed nefarious election acts. Once again, you have been given a conclusion of absolute proof and an accusation with just a minimal amount of information. Since 2020, we have received numerous documentations from several different entities on elections. For every document received making these claims, we have received another document in response to those accusations. We then receive another document in response to the response, and the circle continues. A recent topic of discussion was the Dominion election equipment and the cast vote record. The cast vote record, simply put, is a report of what has been voted on a ballot. We use the cast vote record for the post-election risk-limited audit. Basically, this report will record how a ballot was tabulated, and then during the risk-limited audit, we compare the actual ballot voted to what has been tabulated by the machines, then recorded on the cast vote record. Colorado law requires secrecy in voting, meaning ballots being prepared for tabulations must be separated from the voter's identity. The CVR, or the cast vote record, which is simplified numerical interpretation of the voted ballot content, consists of an electric record that is critical or crucial to the comparison type risk-limiting audit. The CVR must be available to the public for audit purposes. Therefore, not only must separation of a voter identity bearing envelope from the ballot occur at the earliest possible moment, but also the envelope must never be able to be reassociated with the ballot itself or its image, whether a scanned image or in the form of a cast vote record. Under the Colorado Opens Record Act, a county is required to cover or redact before making available for public inspection a voted ballot if the voter has self-identified through marking, or there are fewer than 10 instances of the ballot style or requested portion thereof in the election. Considering that only a few % of voters choose to vote in person in Colorado, the number of those in-person voters using each style of ballot is very low. Therefore, some ballots voted in person by ballot marking devices may easily remain unique by ballot style in the county. This problem is aggravated in direct proportions to the number of ballot styles. The in-person ballots and likewise rows of CVR files, if they include the counting group field, are rare enough to require treatment of anonymity risk ballots. We do keep records of ballots returned by mail, ballots that are in-person paper ballots, and the in-person DRA ballots, but these reports are found in the state score election system. In the 2023 coordinated election, we had 58 in-person ballots and 2 in-person DRE ballots. The DRE are the little machines for ADA compliance. In 2022, we had 89 in-person ballots and 48 DRE ballots. In 2021, we had 0 in-person ballots and 0 DRE ballots. In 2020, we had 27 in-person ballots and 53 DRE ballots. And in 2019, we had 5 in-person ballots and 1 DRE ballot. So, in conclusion, to protect the anonymity of the ballot, we only use one type of counting group in our CVR report. It's as simple as that. The gentleman that stood before you and told you that we had changed our CVR report because it didn't report that he had voted a different way than mail, we just simply do not add those other counting groups in that report for anonymity reasons. Another thing that you guys have been hit with a lot lately is the hand count. So let's talk about that. To hand count or not to hand count? I recently read The Reality of a Full Hand Counts, a guide for elected officials, in an article put out by the elections group. One point made within the article was that a full hand count practically guarantees complexity, higher costs, delays, and mistakes. The theme of the article was that a hand count would be more expensive, less accurate, delay results, and put doubt in the outcome. The report included information from a Shasta County, California hand count that stated that it took 75 minutes, an average time, to tally a batch of 25 ballots, and that it took 375 extra helpers to process 53,000 ballots at a cost of $658,925. Some things that bring me concerns of a hand count include the additional steps for auditing and quality control. Ballot envelopes are date stamped by the machine when received. Received ballots are stamped with identifying numbers when scanned into the voting system. These numbers are used during the risk limiting audit and the reconciliation of elections. It also helps identify that the ballot was only counted once. Ballot security. Ballot chains of custody must be maintained. The more complex and the more the ballot chain of custody, the more confusing the hand count would be. The number of people handling ballots to manually tabulate can give a rise to the concerns with tampering. We strive to have the least amount of people actually touching the ballots. This limits the opportunities for tampering. Reporting. Required general election precinct reporting would add significant time to ballot processing. Ballots would have to be gathered, then sorted by precinct prior to the tabulation. Legalities. Statute says that we are required to use the machine for tabulation. And I've also been told we would be breaking core laws by allowing the review of ballots during a live election. Time delays. Extended election time to complete and receive election results. We have statutory deadlines that we have to make. Fiscal note. We would still be required to pay county staff for this extra time. Statute also requires payment to election judges. Even volunteers would be required to take an oath and have a CBI check done on them. Election judges, once taken an oath, are required to be paid. Judges working longer hours, more judge teams to stamp, number, gather, and sort ballots. All fiscal notes. What about results? Per statute, no results are allowed until after 7 p.m. on election night. If you had a hand tally going on at the same time, how would you keep those results secret? A hand count would require per batch balancing. Our current ballot batch size is 50. You would have to have a running hand count tally to balance daily. With the machine, the current results don't correlate until we tell the machine to correlate. So they don't give us any kind of results until we tell them to. But with this all said, I recently had the opportunity to watch a hand count during the Republican State Assembly. They were doing hand counts on from 100 to 2,000 ballots on one race questions. Please keep in mind, in the past, we have had up to a 2-page, 22-inch ballot for a general election, and currently we have close to 19,000 voters, active voters. In this test, it appeared that they had at least 120 to 100 volunteers to count those 100 to 2,000 ballots. While I saw a few areas of concern with voting and the tabulation process, they managed to do the hand counts relatively quickly. There was no comparison to the machine, so there was no way to know how accurate that hand count was. They may have had auditing process, but I did not observe it and do not know what that particular process was. In conclusion, I understand the concerns of the constituents. There are many opportunities for them to view and be part of our current process. We have a logic and accuracy test prior to every election. This test is a basic hand count, verifying that our machines are counting correctly. We also have the risk limiting audit. At the end of every election, this testing gives us an opportunity to view random ballots and compare the ballots to the cast vote record, to once again verify that the machine tabulated the ballot correctly. To my knowledge, our Dominion machines have not changed anyone's votes. I also realize that people are going to believe what they choose to believe, and nothing I say can change that. What I know is that we follow the rules and the statutes of the legislation that has set before us. While you commissioners are here to listen, you do not make the rules. You can share your concerns with other county commissioners throughout the state, and you can mention these concerns to our representatives. But if we want to make changes to our election process, we need to speak to our representatives. I also want you to publicly know that I will always continue to research the information I receive, the ideas on hand counts, and the risk limiting audit to help ensure to the public that our system is safe. That's probably a lot more than what you wanted, and another topic that they've been discussing are the voter rolls, but I thought I would save that for my next report. Do you have any questions?
No.
Sure.
I do not. I have been part of that accuracy testing, and I can tell you, for me personally, that we made more mistakes in a batch of, I think, 25 or whatever it was. It wasn't very big. And I don't know.
The only other thing that I wanted to report to you guys was some information about the last 2 elections that we've had. I think you guys probably saw the reports from the city of Cortez. We ended up with just under 1,600 ballots for all 3 municipalities, which was quite, I think last time we had 15, so we felt like we did pretty good. And for the ballots returned for the presidential primary, we accepted, I think, 8,500, 8,550 or something like that. So ballots are expensive, very expensive to send out. And in my opinion, whatever we can do to help voters get those ballots returned to us would save the county some, and keep up the voter records would save the county some money. Every time that we have a voter, a ballot that's returned to us as undeliverable, we send out a letter to ask them if their voter registration needs changed. That is a 68-cent stamp, not counting the toner, the paper, the envelopes. And yeah, everything that's returned to us is charged to us as well.
Right.
So we send them, pay for them to send them out, and we pay for them when they come back. And then we pay for a letter going back out to say, so, but I'll talk about that next time.
So when those ballots aren't returned, they're just left unmarked and at home, we still pay for the return envelope?
You pay for them going out.
Okay,
The ones that are undeliverable, they get charged again that come back to them undeliverable.
okay.
Any other questions for us? Okay. leave
I
you
have
alone.
none. Thank you,
Thanks for
guys.
listening,
Thanks for your
gentlemen.
Thank you.
report. Appreciate it. Next up, our assessor, Ms. Bugg. Good afternoon.
Well, I'm here to report that I haven't run away yet. I'm still working. I know you're all excited about that. Biggest thing that's going on in the assessor's office right now, we're getting ready to send out intervening year notices of value. So we're getting ready to send out about 310 of those, most of those being new construction notices of value for the new properties we picked up between November or May of last year and current of 2024. So now anything we pick up new construction wise between now and end of the year will go on for 2025 because our protest period will be May to June, same as it is in any other year. Still, no residential rate has been set yet for any of these residences we're putting on. We don't know. Last I heard, 7.07 was the suggested rate by the Division of Property Taxation to the General Assembly, and that was on March 21st. But they still haven't made up any decisions as to what they're going to set it at. Reimbursements for Senate Bill 22-238 and 23B001 are supposed to be hitting the treasurer's office no later than April 15th by the state treasurer, so we'll see if that actually does happen. And I did send Vicki over a email of the disbursement schedule. I don't know if you guys got it forwarded to you or not. Did you?
I don't remember seeing it, but
It was
that
a little
doesn't
bit
mean.
late, so you might not have got it.
Yeah.
I can show you what I have. It just shows what what the county general is going to get. We're getting the Senate Bill 238 reimbursement, but nothing for the for the 001. We're going to get, county general will get 385, 895 for Senate Bill 238.
So backing up just a little bit, Leslie, did that report, I saw an email coming from CCI today on the Property Tax Commission, their preliminary report. Have you seen that?
Not today.
Kind of their recommendation of what they're gonna, what
I
they're
don't-
recommending?
I don't get CCI's emails.
Okay. I'll look at it, because I, obviously, before we came into this meeting, I haven't had the opportunity
And the way
to
the
look at
Division of
that.
Property Taxation comes up with their numbers is they take all 64 counties, you know, those papers that I have you sign every year that are
Yep.
are abstract. They take all those numbers from all of the counties and come up with their numbers that way. So it's, you know, what's actually going on in all the counties is where they come up with their numbers. It's not, you know, just picking a number
So
necessarily.
the possibility or the recommendation now is to push it back to 7%? Because it was at 6.75, and then they obviously just moved it to the 6.7?
7,
Hmm.
That's the recommendation. They won't go.
Yeah, yeah.
It won't go. And I mean, from what I've been hearing and reading also, the $55,000 reduction in actual value is probably going to be a definite for '24 too. It's just a matter of time for them to tell us to put it back on for this year. Because they're still looking for tax relief for the taxpayers,
Okay.
for the taxes that, you know, for this year's assessment.
I'm curious, because like I said, I think we just got that email before we walked in here to see what their
Forward it to
recommendations
me
were.
so I'd like to read it too.
Yeah, I will.
Because all I've gotten is, you know, just from what the state sent to me in the Division of Property Taxation.
Any idea on what the Initiative 50 group is doing?
I haven't heard any more, just that it's pursuing. It'll be on the ballot. Along with probably 10 to 15 others. It's going to be pretty big.
So things are gonna be messed up again.
Probably for a while. And then, I mean, in '25, from what I can tell, the reval's not going to be, I'm not going to see increases what we saw overall the whole county.
Right.
There are still going to be areas that's going to increase, because we're still seeing increased values. But it's not going to be an overall whole, but there are still going to be sections of the county that are going to see an increase.
Pockets, yeah.
But not as a whole like we did before. So, let's do what we can do.
Okay. When I read that and I open it up, I'll send it to you also.
And then if Vicki didn't get that forwarded to you, when I get back over, I can forward you the schedule. So you can
Okay.
see all the entities and everybody, you know, what everybody's getting as far as disbursements back from both. And it'll help. It'll help everybody a little bit.
Okay.
Actually more than I was expecting it to end up being. So it's pretty good. That's about all I know for right now. But I do expect the 55 to show back up.
All right.
So if we just go off of what our values were last year, because nothing else will really change.
Right. Because that 55 was all there
Was
anyway.
off for last year. Well, for '24, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, be pretty much the same. Any questions?
Nope.
I'm good.
Question?
Thanks.
This is just a hurry up and wait
It
type
was late.
situation.
I just saw it and sent it over. Oh. Just to you. Okay.
That's okay. We'll get it.
Yeah. Somebody named Vicky got an email.
Well, the same Vicki that sent me the appointment to be here today, so I don't know.
Okay.
That
Well,
works.
we'll hurry up and wait.
Sounds great.
See what happens.
Again?
Yeah, it'll
Again.
just be waiting.
Okay. Very good. All right, Dustin, come on down. Tell us what kind of things we're looking at now for capital
Yeah.
improvements.
What's broke now?
What kind of major things do we need to be planning for?
Mainly mowing grass, probably here pretty quick. So,
Maybe
I
we
think we can
maybe
handle mowing the grass.
Yeah.
Maybe we can rent some goats.
we We moved public lands and GIS to the 3rd floor. We moved the admin staff around here on the 2nd floor here. Built a new desk for Lynn with some extra parts we had from the cubicles on the 3rd floor. We installed flooring at the MoCo office and the health department kitchen over the VCT. I have the flooring scheduled for the sheriff's department's locker room where the VCT was damaged from some flooding that we hopefully mitigated. And then mainly just getting ready for the change in seasons. at the
So,
moment.
let me ask you a question on that VCT down there. If we're using, that's in the basement, right?
Yeah.
Is that in there, that's in their weight room, in that area down there?
Yeah, the weight room area is already epoxied, and then the locker area had VCT. They're gonna hold the VCT and do an epoxy with quartz
Okay.
like at the fairgrounds.
Perfect. Because I was going to say, let's don't waste money on VCT anymore, because
Yeah.
that, if that happens again, it's just going to come up,
Yeah.
and then we're wasted. It
Yeah.
should just be, I'm not even sure if we have to do epoxy down there. Why couldn't we just seal it and call it good?
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Well, I kind of thought that with that quartz in there, it would be non-slip for in that locker area was my thoughts on that. That's why I
Yeah.
thought to go that route.
yeah. Do they put the mats on the floor in there too?
Not in
Correct? I thought I thought they just bought a whole
They're in
lot
the,
of new mats.
in the gym area, not like where the showers and the bathroom
Okay.
in the locker room is.
Got it.
Anything else?
Anywhere we can get rid of VCT, I think we should
Yeah.
get rid of it and
Yeah.
not deal with that at all. That's just a maintenance nightmare.
Yeah.
So,
I've
yeah.
got most of it taken care of
Good.
throughout the county.
Any major big items that we see for replacement? HVAC units, I mean, those are always
Yeah,
big ones.
There's probably some unit 3 to 4 that we're gonna try and replace this year. I haven't identified them yet, and so we'll work on that, getting here pretty quick. Get
Okay.
them ordered.
What's our availability on that stuff? Is it better now? Are we able to get it?
It wasn't too bad last year when we got those 3, so it should be pretty decent, I believe. So.
Okay.
But I mean, try and get it here pretty quick, and then make sure we get them here this year. So it's not like 2 years ago where we couldn't get anything.
Right. So it has eased to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Very good, sir.
Thanks.
Vehicle maintenance is next. Vehicle maintenance with Mr. Higman.
All right. These numbers are kind of scary, but doesn't tell the whole truth. I'm just running, this is your vehicles that every department has, and then what would be hitting the threshold of needing replaced this year, which is that 150,000 15 year. And that's across the board. Some of them will be taken care of this year. Some of the road department stuff will be taken care of this year. As soon as we find that dump bed pickup, we'll get rid of one of these pickups and replace 2 for 1 on that. Realistically, the assessor's unit is a 2009, which should be, okay, if we just go down the list, the social services, 3106, it's just a runaround in town, and they do their own units, so that's null and void. 3202 hasn't moved in probably 2 years. It's sitting over there at MoCo, so I don't know. I assume Jennifer will be getting rid of that soon.
So these are to be gone away. This is an
These two.
actual reduction, not replacement.
This one will be, some of these will be needing replaced, and some of them are reduction. So 3202 will be a reduction, because it should just go away, and it's not it's already been replaced, it's just been sitting there. It's under the MoCo stuff, so I don't know, there's a few of these departments I don't have a lot of purview over, like social services, they take care of their own. I mean, I find the vehicles for them, but they take care of all their own financing, same as MoCo. So those two would go down, and then go ahead and go down. You'll see that Trailblazer, it's a 2019. It hits the years, but not the mileage. It's only got 93,000, 92,000 miles, but it's 15 years old now. So that one would be one that hits that threshold of replacement. And then the same with the extension department.
Has that one been in the same department the entire time? That Trailblazer?
As far as I know, since I've been here, it's been the assessors. I don't know where it started, but
Gotcha.
since I've been here, it's been the assessors. And then that 4001 is the extension office, and they have that Explorer. We just got a vehicle brought back to us from the sheriff's department. That's a 2014 with 100,000 miles on it that we were looking at possibly pushing over there to replace that unit, if everybody's in agreement with that. That would make that one go away, and that was a reduction of the sheriff's fleet by one. So we can push that over there and give them a useful unit for another 5 years. And then that 2002 F-150 gets used very little, and it's out at the fairgrounds. As you can see, it's only got 92,000 miles, and it's a 2002.
So that's just a go away.
Yeah, it's on that. You know, when you run this report, this is part of FleetMate, when you run this report, it brings up everything that's 15 years or 150,000 miles. So that's basically what I have highlighted. I mean, that's really your guys' choice what is done with these. So.
Well, I think originally when we talked about this was what could we do to reduce the fleet? What kind of reduction? So, I mean, I know that they meet replacement, some of them, and some of them are probably needed for replacement, but I didn't see the reduction.
The reduction has already happened. This number doesn't really, I would have to run a different report to show the reduction. I mean, all you can see is what we currently have. When I first came, we had well over 100 vehicles. The first report when I took over fleet was 120 vehicles, I think. Yeah. And we're down to 94. So we've definitely done some serious reduction in fleet. A lot of that has been at the sheriff's department. We've reduced quite a few at the road department. Their pickup numbers have gone way down since we took over fleet. But it has reduced a lot, and I'd have to go clear back to when I started up there and pull those numbers of what the fleet was at that point. But this is just showing what is currently in our system still active that would need to be, that's hitting that threshold. Not necessarily that it has to be replaced. Like the fairgrounds, that pickup does not need to be replaced. I mean, they don't use it enough to need it replaced, but this is just showing what is hitting that threshold. The biggest concern would be the sheriff's department is everything in yellow, and that would be, this is still all patrol units, and we've done huge thing by updating, but these will still be hitting, these are still in the patrol, and they will still be hitting the threshold this next year. So basically, I don't know what the decision is on that, but Enterprise will be here this month for a meeting, and they'll be wanting to know what we're going to do about. These are all in their system, so if we're wanting to replace these and add them to the lease, or what we're wanting to do.
So we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Correct. That would be this the newest one's a 2020, and then those 2019s would be the next year after, and then we would be
So-
fully under lease.
So did we ever, I know that Tyson was supposed to get us back a schedule on how they were going to combine these. Did we ever get that?
I never received anything, sir.
Okay, then see if you can reach back out to him to see, because if Enterprise is going to be here, we need to have at least a conversation with them to know if we're going to, because we have 16 new vehicles that are we just put in service, right?
There's
within the
16
last-
new, that wasn't 16 patrol, but it's 16 new vehicles.
Correct, some are,
Detention, or it's not detention,
deputy.
some were detective vehicles. I think
detective.
there was 4 or 5 of those 16 were detective to
Okay.
replace the
so
2014s.
see what he came up with, because I know that he was supposed to have us something lined out before we had this next conversation with the Enterprise. When are you going to need to know this, Shane?
Our meeting is in 2 weeks on a Thursday,
Okay.
so I'll need to know. Because if we are gonna order more, it'll be clear out until, they're still a year out. So we would need to be on board with ordering them and getting them ordered for next year. Basically, they won't come in this year.
Right. So basically in July of next year, kind of like
Pretty much,
what's standard.
yeah.
Also,
then-
too, if we decide to do that, I think we should also look at the cost of what the different, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, whatever else they have in that SSV
Yeah.
model, I think is what they are.
And we
Just to
also
make
need
sure-
to be sure this time to have that number of the upfit into these vehicles, because that's a huge expense. And that's not,
Correct. And can we find another vendor instead of just taking the one vendor? Because
Yeah.
talking to other counties, they're getting a lot better cost in New Mexico for the upfitting. I mean, 15 to 20 grand a vehicle is a lot more money just to add for the upfitting also.
and there's a lot of things there that need to be watched on the add-ons, because a lot of that was, all those pickups need toppers, and then they put deck boxes in the back of all of them and that kind of thing. So, I mean, there's some of that that's $3,000 or $4,000 worth of add-ons that, not my place to say if it's needed or not, but it's, that's part of that outfit. But the general bill was $15,000 for an outfit, and that just can't be, even if it's $10,000, that's not something that can be missed if we go to replacing them. We need to have that budgeted in to have that done.
So you need an answer within 2 weeks. So again, reach out and
Yeah.
I
get us
can,
something to look at.
I think she said she sent that invite to, I think to you too, Travis, but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll send it to you all.
Oh, so we know when that meeting is. It's a lunch meeting with Enterprise. And that's, that's really all I have, is just needing to make a decision on where to move forward. And these
Well-
yellow, it's the road department. We've kind of moved that around to where that would be the road department's responsibility now, and that would be for next year anyway. So there's really nothing that needs to happen on the replacement, except for if we needed to replace that assessor vehicle, we would need to budget for that this next coming year, basically.
So just let Enterprise know that I think that, and at least for me, I think we want to look at all the manufacturers for SSV vehicles.
I would agree.
We're not going to be just tied into one. So give them a heads up on that.
Okay.
Let us know what those costs are going to be if we're going to have to know in 2
I'll have
weeks.
them, well, I can give her a heads up that we would want those numbers. I don't know what they are now. I know we lost a lot of the government incentive stuff, but I know those last Fords that we got were about 52,000, and they're about 1,200 a month
Yep.
in payment. So I don't know if we can do better than that or not. They would have to run those numbers.
Well, we should still look at the numbers with all of them.
Agreed.
And we might want to look at the SUV packages as well, like the Tahoes, and just see what the cost benefit is there.
Yeah.
can do
Okay.
that. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is that the pool car thing is going, the usage of the pool cars have gone way up. Those cars are getting 10 to 15,000 miles a year on them now compared to the 2,000 or 3,000 they were. Just the number one thing we're having issues with is people taking the keys back and making sure people check them out, because people will go to get a vehicle and the vehicle's not there, or they'll go to get the vehicle and the vehicle's sitting out there, but there's no keys in the box, and that's becoming quite the deal to manage. So,
May have to start charging for that.
I'll probably send out a mass email about making sure the keys go back and making sure everybody checks out when they need to use a vehicle, to try to just remind everybody that that needs to happen, because we made it easy enough for them. I mean, they go in the back door and take the key, and they're definitely being used. They're checked out all the time, so. Yeah. We can track them, but it takes some tracking. Jim.
Okay. Sounds good. Question? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Shane.
It, right?
All right. Tell me who took the vehicle. Mr. It? What have you got, Mr. McClain?
That,
What have you got?
I don't really have a lot, but I will update you on a couple things broadband.
Okay.
I met with 2210 last week, just trying to figure out where we're going, because now I'm seeing some stuff starting to happen between the tribe coming up and Clear Networks getting their network built. And so the county should start seeing some revenue very shortly off of the express fiber.
Good.
They've had 2 already sign up to run down it, so we'll start seeing that. And I told them they needed to come in here next month and give you guys a report. It's time. I mean, we waited. I was giving them the time to get it marketed, because I knew we had a lot to do. But so they will be here at some point next month to give you an update, and then they'll try to do that every quarter to let you know what's going on. So that's good news. I knew it was going to take a while, but we're getting there. We met with the tribe, and they're contractors, and so they're going to be coming up too when they start building from Toyac, and then they'll tie in at the hut, and they'll have to ride the express cable back up too to get there. So we'll see a lot more traffic on there.
So is that gonna actually happen?
Yeah.
Are they building it now?
Well, they haven't broke ground yet, but
Taking bids.
they're still in the middle of the NEPA study.
So we're gonna get broadband first, or we're gonna get a trail to Mesa Verde?
Well,
Are we already in CDOT's right away, or I don't know. There's a lot of that's a discussion to be had.
Well, one good thing about broadband for us on the county side of things is I think the appeals and all that process is done now with the CBO. And so I think they're working out the contracts right now with Clear Networks. And hopefully I would say maybe by the end of the summer or early, somewhere in maybe September, we'll start seeing some action happening on that front as well. I'm meeting with Mancus, Jason, and Heather this week to talk about their CNL, which is a carrier neutral location. There's a small one being built at the town hall in Mancus, and so we're kind of helping them design it, make sure it's done correctly, so we can make sure that's all done. So lots of stuff, starting to see some momentum, so that's good. On the IT side, we just stay busy all the time, trying to make sure everybody's working and stuff's going. Today, I'm blaming everything on the Eclipse because it works for me.
So all those pictures are being uploaded?
No, what we are working on, though, is trying to get ahead of this game with the ADA compliance stuff. So we're trying to stay ahead as much as we can. We know there's a lot to do, and then we have a lot of decisions to make going forward. The more we run to our website, the better, because we can control our website way more than we can control things that are out of our purview, like Facebook. We have You know, I read the laws and I read the way it's written, and it's like you're putting it back on us to go after the social media people, for example, and it's like, well, wait a minute, should they be going after them?
The less we do on social media,
The better.
the better off we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very, very simply.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's my you know, from a legal standpoint,
Text
if we
only.
can completely get rid of the county Facebook page, that would be great. Route it to the website.
If you're not gonna get rid of it, then you need to go text only.
Yep.
Period. No pictures, no
Yep,
text
so
only.
we had this conversation too, so what about our scrolling signs? Do those
Well,
also have to be audible, or
If
are they,
that's-
what are those gonna have to be?
I'm still
Because
trying to read between the lines on that one, because to make the signs audible, what you would essentially have to do is like, I don't know, drop headphones down off of them or something. I'm not sure how you
Well,
would do
then you
it.
face public health concerns.
Well, they're, yeah,
But
it's
the
a-
cost of that sign, even to do a sign, just that sign alone, and it isn't that fancy, but, because it's double-sided, you know, it was $50,000. So could you imagine what it would take to put in something that was audible? You'd be better off just saying, okay, we're not gonna have a sign. I mean, we're in this, really, it's a touchy thing, because it's like, the cost to
Yeah.
upgrade all of this stuff would be just ridiculous.
So what would be the problem with, sort of, let's wait it out and see what happens?
Well, you and I are kind of going down that same path. I think we're worrying, I think what's gonna happen when I read this, the way it's written and the way, because you gotta understand that if you look at what the state of Colorado's doing, which is way tougher and stricter than all the other states.
Right.
Okay? They've taken a federal mandate and then they've like Colorado'd it, okay? But they're not even ready. If you go look at our
Exactly.
county website, for example, is so far ahead of what the state of Colorado's is. I don't know how they can possibly enforce this when they don't even have it together enough to enforce their own. And I think it's gonna cause, I think you're gonna see some pushback, because we're not the only, there's a lot of small counties that
No,
can't
every,
afford this.
everybody in the state has pushed back on this
They're
one
gonna
because
push
of,
back, and I'm hoping CCI is gonna push back as well,
we
because
already have.
this has got, you know, they gotta get a grip on us, because there's no way we can do this. There's just not enough people, not enough resources, and not enough money. It's very expensive to do what they
And I
do.
had a lot of conversations last week regarding this House bill, and we're not the only county in this predicament, but a lot of counties are starting to hire additional FTEs just to manage this one problem.
And I don't think we necessarily need to go there.
I agree.
But I think that we need to shore up things as very best we can and get rid of the low-hanging fruit, so to speak. I mean, there's some stuff, well, like the Facebook page.
Yep.
I mean, that's
agree.
pretty easy stuff, and,
I agree.
you know, and so I think
And I
we,
think there's gonna be something said for making the best effort at this. I think you're gonna see part of that's gonna play out, because if you read the original language that came out on the ADA stuff, especially when it was designed towards websites and public-facing stuff, it was pretty clear about that there will be no penalties or fines as long as you're showing a good effort at trying to get there. That's basically what it said in layman's terms. Well, we were ahead of that game a year ago. We saw that coming, but then when I read this next thing, it's like, well, wait a minute, because now they're not talking about just public facing, now they're also talking about internal stuff. Well, that changes everything for us, because that means all of our software, everything would have to be adjusted. For right now, we don't even have any employees that need it. Well, we have one, and she's in the DA, but we made exceptions and we worked for her and got her set up for what she needed. It needs to be on that basis, in my opinion. We did it for her. We can do it like, you know, if somebody else comes to us and they have an issue, we'll get you set up with whatever you need to do your job efficiently. But to force us to do it for everybody I don't think it's gonna work. We don't have the funds to do it.
well,
There would be kind of what you're saying, and I think we just look at what we have and what we cut. What do we take away?
What do we
I think
take
that's the
away?
low-hanging fruit, and
Which I agree entirely with. I
And
think
it just may be
Facebook should be the first thing to
some of
go.
the stuff that we have to get rid of. It's gonna be tough to comply with this thing
Oh,
100%. And
I've
in
read
the
it
time
and read
frame-
it and read it, and I just don't know how we can pull it off, because you're talking about digital signs across the street at the fairgrounds. You know, we're gonna be dealing with stuff at the landfill. It just goes on and on and on. And I don't know. I don't see how we do it, quite honestly.
Yeah.
There's not enough of us or enough money to do it.
No.
I said, let's not.
No,
Go back to pen and
Get rid
paper.
of the
I
low-hanging
mean,
fruit real easy.
that's what they're kind of forcing, right? Back to
Yeah,
pen and
that's
paper.
what they're forcing.
Because do away with YouTube, do away with all. Just go back to pen and paper, and then they do, what are they
Well,
gonna do?
well, part of it too is, and I hate to say this because it's just confrontational, but a lot of it is, how are they going to enforce this?
I don't know.
Because it's,
How are they gonna enforce it?
They can enforce it right through the
Enforce it,
Attorney
yeah.
General's office, and I mean, there's also ADA rights organizations that
Right.
look for this stuff. I mean, they'll find people to come. Again,
Yeah, they're purposely out there looking for this stuff, and. Yeah. So but we are going to do our best. Trying to, and I'll
Right.
meet with Ian and Travis
Right.
again a few more times, and we'll narrow down what we have to do. But just know on our side, we are working really hard at trying to get ahead of this, the best we can. No promises. I can't guarantee you we ain't gonna have somebody come back at us, but we are really trying hard to make sure that doesn't happen.
we really have to make it the best we can make it for the most people.
And
Right,
that's
and
all we
that's-
can do.
right.
And we will do that.
what, yeah, exactly. What is right for everybody, or
And we
the
will do
best
that.
for the most?
But the state has reached, with us, has reached a point where they pass legislation and pass the financial responsibility onto us, and we don't have the means to do that.
Right. They mandate stuff
there's-
without telling you how you're supposed to pay for it,
Yeah.
without funding the mandate.
And there's a lot of other counties that don't have the means to pay for
And
this.
worse off than us even.
Yes.
So you got places like Dolores County who, they don't even have an IT staff. They have to contract stuff out, so
Yeah.
what are they gonna do? They don't have that kind of,
They're going to simplify
Just won't
everything.
do
They're going to
it.
simplify the
They just
website.
won't
They're going to
do
get rid of Facebook. They're going to get rid of their signs, and that's kind of the position that we're in now.
but we start the places we can, as you mentioned, and we start with things that are easily done with, that's Facebook and social media, and, you know, force everything through our website. If everything's through our website, we can control that.
Okay.
So that's, anything else? Any other questions, John?
All good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, next is our GIS, Mr. Roth. Mr. Nolan.
Yeah, things have been pretty much business as usual this year. I think Nolan can speak better, but I think you've been seeing a lot of plats coming through the office. It seems like he's always stacked up with plats, adjustment to our parcel base. I've been doing a little bit of, as I have time, I've been going back to some of our older subdivisions and redrawing those off of old plats just to make them more accurate. It's something I kind of enjoy to do whenever we have additional time. There's always improvements to be made in our base data. I did have, it was kind of a good surprise. We've had 3 requests for address verification from real estate agents. What we've attempted to do over the years is give some trainings to the Board of Realtors so that they know that if there's a closing, we do have a portion of our specialized web map that's an address verification web map so that they can check to see if they have a closing date for a home, that they can check to see if that is a good address or if it needs to be corrected. Then they will email us. We kind of issued out some instructions to the Board of Realtors. And then we will issue an address correction within, I think it's 24, 48 hours to them so that they can get that address corrected for the new owner, just to ease that process. Then that's provided at closing, and then we wait to see that ownership change go through, and then we send it out in our normal address changes to the post office and various agencies. that was an idea that was come up with many years ago, and we've had very few, I guess, compliance with that, which is fine. It's optional. It's based on, it's kind of a service to the future owner of a home to ease the pain and the trouble of address changes. But I was pleased that we're getting a few of those. That's fantastic. We did move upstairs. I think we got most of the signage, not all of the signage. We have some temporary signage to go upstairs. We have some new signage that's on order to finish that project. And then as far as we're kind of a supporting, department for the 911 mapping. But as far as that goes, we did work early February to get our data packaged up and sent off to this Geocom outfit, which is a third-party outfit that everything gets processed through. Sent them that data on February 21st. Geocom delivered the data package on March 4th, and it was a fairly quick turnaround for that. Nolan and I both looked at it. We requested that it look a lot like our web mapping, pretty similar to that, and they did deliver on that. And then the last that I heard on March 28th, a couple weeks ago, was that the Motorola field tech was installing that. So things are going slowly. They are going forward. In the contract, we're supposed to get training on that so that we can support a portion of that. But some of it is run through these third-party vendors, so we don't just have control to jump in there. So I think we're gonna go over to dispatch and just see where they're at and what we can do to help them out here this week or early next week. So that's where we're at. And just one last thing is that I did talk to Robert. We had a grant I think he brought to you last year or last fall that hopefully we'll hear about here in March. That was to get some address signage consistently throughout the county. See if that happens. It's something that we essentially committed to be prepared to support that through our department. I think it would be a fantastic project. If we do get that, we will have, it just did some rough numbers before I came down, there's approximately 600 to 700 addresses that we have flagged initially as having they still have a major problem. They're out of sequence, odd even, addressed off of the wrong street based on a corner road or something like that. Seems like a fairly large number. However, that is a number that we can process through and look at each one and make sure it absolutely has to be changed, because what we wouldn't want to do in that process, not to get ahead of the cart if we even do get the grant, but we don't want to essentially monument a bad address with county funds. We would have to get addresses that absolutely have to be changed, corrected prior to putting up an address sign using public funds. So we'll see where that goes. I'm hopeful that we'll get that this year or some year soon.
Yeah, a few notes. As Doug mentioned, I've been working on plat boundary adjustments, getting the plat adjustments updated with the map. Also, I've been working with the Ute Fire Department. Most of the residents, the old maps they have needs to be updated. So I've been working with the fire department in updating different locations and different new residents and old residents and different address change, and updating our database for the 911 service. Also been working with emergency management on creating maps for fire incidents, especially in mobile and online mapping. So that way the EOC team can track and report fire incidents throughout the county and keep better reports and data, and whoever he can share the data between their teams sufficiently, rather than paper maps or through walkie-talkies or but yeah, I'm just creating to make that streamlined for them. So That's about it.
Questions?
No.
All right.
You know, a lot of people don't see the work that you guys really do, but appreciate it.
Yeah, a lot of it's just back end, like
Yeah.
entering bits and bytes, new information. There's always work to be done, so.
Actually, I don't know. I talk to a lot of people on a daily basis that use our GIS services on our website, and it's, I mean, I use it almost, well, weekly for sure, but probably more than once a week, just looking up stuff that comes to us. So I use it all the time.
And, you know, it is handy not to, not to take all the credit for it, because a lot of that data that we use streams in from the assessor's office. Sometimes we pull data sources from external sources or external public data sources, so we're always looking out for better data that's out there that's available that we can utilize. So we don't necessarily create it all or even update it all that we present out there, but yeah, we try.
I found a dam on a creek not too long ago, and an inspection we went and did for a project that's going on, and came back, looked at a GIS map, and it was, that water was backed up, and it was huge. I showed these guys, I'm like, have you ever seen this? I thought I'd seen everything in this county, and no. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I use it for my research all the time.
And as much as things have changed here,
Yeah.
in the past 3 years, we've never had it before where, you know, we have 21 imagery from 2021, which in the past would have seemed like, no, not a lot's changed. Well, a lot has changed in the past 2 years. And so the most recent Google imagery, I think, is from last summer, fall. And somebody said, well, you know, the Google imagery is more up to date than yours is. And that Google imagery is not fantastic. So we are waiting for the state has a contract with Vexel Imagery, and that should be coming on board pretty soon. So we should have some updated imagery on our website because, yeah, things are getting updated, things are happening.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, Mr. Dietrich.
Afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon.
How are
You
you?
want me to wait for Jim to get back, or?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll try to keep this as short as possible. I do want to kind of give the commissioners kind of a picture of all the collaboration that we're engaged in right now. So I'll start off with the collaborative work. The first one, as you're already aware of, is the Dolores Watershed Collaborative, formerly known as DWARF. I'm still an advisory board member for that group. We're still working on identifying the priority areas for Montezuma County that we want to achieve work in, and forward then off to the CFLRP. CFLRP is also a collaborative I'm working on. That's the Collaborative Forest Restoration Program, and of course that runs from Montezuma County, well actually Dolores County all the way over to Archuleta County, so that's a bigger project. But what we're trying to do is really identify our projects, forward that on to the CFLRP to get that into their program, because a lot of it's really kind of defined by what comes out of Congress, and some things qualify, some things don't. So within each project, we're trying to identify the portions of it that do qualify, and that'll be what we can use CFLRP funding for. The whole thing gets pretty complicated, but there's some good work coming out of it. One of the things that we're continuing to work on is, a list of priority considerations for other forest products, the POL, because you know how it is. There's a ton of PLO that comes off of every timber cut. What to do with all that is part of our mission. We're looking at things from biochar to chipping to the Wood for Life program. Well, we're trying to avoid those because you get enough stuff out there, it'd be like ironwood. So taking care of all that kind of stuff is important. And again, we're looking at the cross boundary treatments on the private land side and trying to sync those up. And we're using the Dwarf Collaborative as a vehicle to try to advance all that on up to the collaborative forest restoration. Also involved the Montelores Coalition. This is kind of a newer one. And so the mission statement for that is balancing sustainable outdoor recreation and conservation of natural resources to serve the unique needs of Colorado's southwest corner. So I'm also an advisory member on this this coalition. We've been meeting bi-weekly on that. We're on number 6 right now. We're currently developing the governance structure for the coalition because it's going to be a long-term process on this. It really started off with a grant that was, I believe it was a Dolores trustee that started that off. So that's what's given us the ability to kind of get this structure all put into place and figured out. The next step on this, though, so we've got a proposal for a grant going into CPW, and by the way, this is not a Montezuma County backed grant or anything like that. But the purpose of that would be to try to identify conservation needs in projects within the region. One of the things that they're pushing with that is to try to develop a tool for mapping those conservation needs in projects. I've asked for a demo for that tool because I really don't know what that tool does that we can't already do. So it'll be interesting. Before we spend a lot of money on that, I'm going to advise that group, let's evaluate our own capacity first. And that will just be ongoing. I think they're looking for money for permanent funding for that. So I think we've probably got another nonprofit in the county that'll be relatively permanent is what it looks like. Also working on the San Juan Skyway Corridor Plan. Of course, we've got the San Juan Skyway that comes through the county, in addition to the Trail of the Ancients Scenic Byway. The Trail of the Ancients did their corridor plan last year, so that's completed. And then we're doing the San Juan Skyway Corridor Plan this year. I'm a board member on both of those efforts also, and those will continue to be ongoing, although they really are not a huge time commitment. Trail of the Ancients, we meet roughly biannually, unless something else comes up. And I think the same way will happen with the San Juan Skyway once we get through the corridor planning. Also working with the Greater Cortez Economic Development Group, and the reason I'm still engaging in that is because some of the OREC strategies, and I'll talk about these here in a minute, but a couple of the OREC strategies really kind of relate to the municipalities, and there's also some opportunities that we've identified as far as accessing cultural sites. The big one is off of South Broadway. The city owns some land that connects to the Hawkins Trail, which gets you right down to that little ruin down there and puts folks right on that pathway too. So still engaging with that, and South Broadway area plan, and sort of the same reason for that, because there's a nexus with the OREC. Also continuing with the ongoing federal coordination. Right now it's almost all BLM action. We're working with the Gunnison Sage Grouse, and of course that you all saw that just a little while back. They've got the draft RMP amendment. The EIS, it's open for the public comment, and it closed on, it closed on February 6th, and those are the ones that we made the comments on. So right now they're looking at that internally, and they'll open that back up for another round of public comment on that, and they're expecting that to be released for the final in July of 2024. At the same time, they're working on the big game RMP, and so that's the statewide oil and gas amendment is what that's focused on. And that review period is currently open, and they're accepting comments from April 5 through April 19th. We've already commented on that, so what they're doing is looking at that final on that is what that is. So we've got a couple upcoming things here. The BLM is taking a look at that motorized trail that's out there at Phil's World, and essentially what happened with that is that that trail goes through a couple of cultural sites. So since those were not approved on the front end, once that became knowledgeable to the to SHPO, they're asking BLM to take a look at that. They want BLM to reroute those pathways. I've had conversations with BLM. BLM feels the same way as I do. Probably just leaving everything the way it was probably the best solution. But they're backed in the corner, and SHPO is telling them that they have to reroute those trails. I think what it'll give us is probably a net loss, probably not significant, but they're trying their best to reroute those to be a better better experience. And as I pointed out to the BLM, it's sensitive in this county. So, every time we lose some of those motorized trails, people get upset about it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to encourage them to take a look at, if you lose some here, try to give some there. So they're taking a look at that out at Mud Springs. That gravel company's kind of abandoned that spot. They want to use that as kind of a play area, but also kind of enhance some of the trail opportunities out there for motorized in particular. And then, of course, we've got the BLM, Flowdine, and Yellow Jacket, the grazing allotment. We're expecting the final draft of that programmatic agreement to be coming out here this month. It was supposed to be out last month. It got delayed. Who knows what will happen this month. We'll wait for Ray to kind of give us an update on that. I think it's right at the cusp of it. And then the next part of that will be going on to the mitigation portion of it. So we did talk about that out there, participated in the BLM Southwest RAC, and we went out to Painted Hand Ruin, talked about the Flowdine Yellow Jacket allotments, talked about the trespass horses out there, and that's kind of one of the most significant problems I think we're facing on the monument. So they're working through that. Hopefully we'll have some positive ways to maybe handle that. All in all, it really looks like the grazing out on the monument in terms of its effect on cultural resources, pretty low impact. What really came out of the group, everybody looking at it, was the big impacts is from recreation, from managing people. Mm-hmm. That's what you got a parking lot, you got picnic tables, trails, signs, all this stuff. So anyway, hopefully they'll understand that. There's other things associated with grazing we got to look at, vegetation management and everything, but for cultural resources, it's a fairly light footprint.
Are they still gathering those horses out there and putting them up for adoption? Are they?
I don't know that the BLM is specifically doing that on Canham at this point, but that's what they're looking at, trying to evaluate how they're going to handle that. I do know that we've got some permittees that have done some horse capture and have taken them down to down to the sale barn and have managed to get rid of a few horses, but I think it's a pretty small amount compared to what's out there. And there's really no fences on the west side, so we've just got a constant. You get rid of a few, you got more coming in all the time. So it's going to take kind of a cooperative strategy between the surrounding landowners and in Canham to really come up with something that's going to be effective.
They're going to keep coming, aren't they?
Yep.
So I'll go on to my special projects. So I've got the IHOP Affordable Housing Strategy. That should be finishing up here at the end of the month. They should give us a final report. We're working with DOLA to make sure that we've got an approval. We were supposed to adopt one of those qualifying strategies, but none of those fit Montezuma County. So we're angling in on a regulatory strategy, and that regulatory strategy is really to work with the municipalities, because the name of the game on affordable housing is really within the municipalities. And we haven't really got a lot of land out in the unincorporated area that's suitable. But we do have some proposals that come in right along the municipal boundaries, and if we can get better coordination between county planning and the municipal planning offices, then that's what we're after, and to try to make that work a little more smoothly. And I think that there is some advantages to long-term planning on that too, if we can get the two sides to be talking to each other and have the ability to look out into the future a little bit on that. Then we have the OREC Recreation Tourism Strategy, and that grant ends July 31st, 2024. We've identified 5 strategies based on community input. First one is the Outdoor Recreation and Heritage Tourism Marketing Program focused on Canham. And that's because Canham, they've kind of raised the flag on that one, but haven't really been able to put any funding into really trying to develop a marketing strategy for it. They really would kind of like to just leave it unknown as best they can. Trouble is, you've kind of already raised the flag on that. So, I think it's right now it's going to be trying to find the balance between the two on that. The second one is convenient access to McPhee Reservoir for SUPs, kayaks, and hand-launched craft. They can launch, of course, right down there to the main boat launch, but I think what everybody is after is to find those little areas where you can drive down to the reservoir, and especially on the south side, and to just be able to hand launch craft. I think that this is going to take a lot of coordination with the Forest Service on that. It's a good strategy, It's certainly an opportunity there, and it's a resource we can capitalize on. But of course, the Forest Service is going to be the deciding factor on that. We'll continue to work. Then the third one is retail shopping entrepreneurship platform, and that is the nexus really with the municipalities, because the county is not out there trying to sell stuff. So it's the name of the game is the municipalities on that, and that's why I'm still trying to engage with the economic development and also the South Broadway project. The fourth one is maps and descriptions of outdoor recreation and heritage assets in the county. The county's already been working on that. Nolan has got a great mapping program. We just need to make sure that we all coordinate on that and make that as robust as possible. And then the fifth one is short duration, easy developed pathway to heritage sites. And that again is the nexus with South Broadway, and we think we can make a very short trail connection over to heritage sites on that. And then there are others that are coming to mind. There's probably some down around Ismay, and maybe some off of Road BB. But anyway, those are the short hikes is what the public was looking for. At least that's what we heard. So. Then also working, of course, on Paso Mesa Verde. I'll go over segment C and D here first. So the first complication is we've been very successful for our fundraising. The difficulty, though, is that the FLAP program has been pushing back their funding. And so if originally it was 2026, they've pushed that back to 2027 now. And that puts us in jeopardy of losing our MMOF funding, which we worked really hard to come up with for matching funds on that. And it was a significant amount. So we're taking every angle on this we possibly can. CDOT has really been a good partner in this. In the FLAP program really has too. We're trying to work a way around this. One possibility is CDOT, and they've already said that they would like to take on the trail from the edge of Mancos out to the 160B intersection. That would help a lot. Part of the reason they're doing that is because the silver spot butterfly just became listed as threatened. And right along through there is all that swampy ground on the north side of the road there. Silver spot butterfly is a species dependent for its reproduction. They have to have the bog violet. So CDOT is going to take that on themselves and try to work through, this whole deal with the Threatened and Endangered Species Act. It'd be great for us to get that off our plate and focus for the rest of that trail. FLAP is really interested in it. They like this idea too. But they're also saying that we'd like to see this project finished. They're giving us signals that more money could be coming. But of course, when they put more money on the table, that means our match increases. So as a way to counteract that, we were looking at that culvert right there at the 160B intersection. It's been identified in one of our wildfire plans as being undersized for debris flow. It's also on a replacement list for CDOT, but it's not very far up on the replacement list. So we're hoping is that adding the fire component to that will help move that up on their list. The other thing is the funding would come from CWCB, and we'll work with Mancos Conservation District on this to try to land some funding for that box culvert replacement. Our theory is that if we can bring some more money to the table and get some money for CDOT to replace that box culvert, then it might make it more likely that CDOT's going to come up with additional funding and complete that first stretch of the trail. If all this happens correctly, we may be able to spend our MMOF money out and still be able to tap into the FLAP funding in 27 and try to make this all just one project that runs from one into the next one. So, but obviously there's a lot of moving parts, and we'll just really have to keep working on this. Then Paso Mesa Verde Segment B, Fairgrounds to Mesa Verde. We're scheduled for the final office review on that for May 13th. Our contract should end June 30th. So after we go through the final office review, we should have a set of plans that's almost perfect. There may be a few final revisions on that, but the way CDOT sees it, that should be a shovel-ready plan by the time we get done with that. So at that point, then we start looking for funding for that portion of it. Implementation funding, that is. And then Paso Mesa Verde Segment A, we're wrapping up the first portion of that where we went out and talked to people about getting right-of-ways, because that's the one that deviated away from the highway right-of-way a little bit. So we've got that wrapped up. We've got initial agreements from people that want to continue working with us. And so then we've also, we just got them going on the second portion of that. I think you might recall it was a couple weeks ago. And so they'll begin working on the design portion of that also. Also on the floodplain management side, I've got 2 notice to proceeds in place right now. And we've got one project that's in a planning phase, and that involves either a bridge or a low water crossing down to McElmo. They're still working with the engineer on that, and so then they should come in. Of course, we've got a 2-step process for that. So once they get engineering plans together, they get that signed, they come in and say, hey, this is what we want to do. We issue them a notice to proceed, and then once they complete that, they come back in with the engineer that signs off on the project, says, hey, you guys built it the way you said you was going to build it. So anyway, that's how that process works. I think you already know that. And then the final piece is the noxious weed department. So been kind of working through all the files on that, trying to get my head into this as best we can. I've been coordinating with Emily on who's going to take which piece. We get people calling in for just advice on a variety of different things, everything from cattails to pasture improvements to actually focusing on the list A noxious weeds. And that's what we need to focus on is list A noxious weeds. So I'll try to give Emily, the questions that come in about pasture improvements and cattails and stuff like that, and then I'll focus on noxious weeds. We'll be taking cost share applications. I've found that application. I think I got my head into that good enough that we can start letting those go out. And then the phreatophyte program is the one we're trying to get out of that. Right now we're clearing, according to the guys, about 4.8 acres a week on the Johnson property, that is. They started with about 139.69 acres. We've completed the best estimate I can come up with, about 60.15 acres. That leaves us about 79.54 acres left to go. If you do the math, at 4.8 acres a week, we're looking at probably August to be able to get through that. So the guys were talking about trying to get some equipment in there to help accelerate that. So if we get, kind of a skid steer down in there, even one with the masticating head and everything, they think that that's going to gain them, maybe they can compress 2 weeks out of about a week's worth of work with that equipment. So, I mean, it's a little bit dicey whether or not that's really worth it or not, especially if we consider that, our main equipment, that excavator, could break down. If it breaks down, we'll have to rent some equipment to keep that project rolling. We'll also have to have that repaired. So I don't know. I'm kind of inclined to keep the guys going the way they are right now, and keep that money in reserve in case we hit some kind of a big snag that we can't overcome through some other means. If they were telling us, well, we could shave 6 weeks off of it with a week of that, extra equipment, yeah, that seems like it makes some sense. But boy, it doesn't feel like we're getting far enough ahead with that extra equipment rental to make it all that worthwhile. And again, I'm open to all kinds of suggestions on that, so we can continue to have conversations on that and try to figure out the best way to move forward.
So I've already given you my ideas and my suggestions, but if you double the equipment, you should double the capacity of the acreage. So that math, again, does not make any logical sense to me, because it's the same size of machine, the same masticator head. I mean, you have twice the capacity, you should have twice the production.
Sure should have twice the capacity.
So anyway, that's on that. And then also too that, James, I don't know if you know, but we had these books printed. We all have one up here because we still use them when we were having our testing. Gerald knows them all. I don't know them, any of them. He's good at it. I'm not. So, I mean, do we have this that we can put out? Do we still have these so people that do actually know what's on the A list, B list, and C list?
Right.
That are actually noxious weeds?
Yeah.
And actually then there's pictures for identification also. So we do have this resource. That might be something just to be able to hand out or give out to give to the people, because we do still have these.
And there's phone apps that you can use to identify weeds.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of resources out there that that we already have available to everybody, so. you know.
And that's our low-hanging fruit, is to provide information
Right.
as
And
we
this has got a
can.
ton of information, this little pocketbook. Ton
You
of
know, the
it.
ones that Bonnie did actually have some suggestions for herbicides too. I think that
Yeah.
might be the
Yep.
one from the state, which doesn't have that.
Yeah, that's the one from the state.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll try to capitalize as best we can on those, and they're no good sitting around in a box, so we
No.
try to get them
No.
out the door as fast as we can.
Yeah.
So I have an RFP largely prepared for looking at, addressing all of our county facilities, which, according to the noxious weed plan that I just saw, that's what we're focused on. And then I've coordinated with Rob. Rob will focus on the, on the right-of-way as per plan. And then, I think, like the facility like we have here, when we're looking at, the lawn and stuff like that, that seems like it's kind of more in the realm of the maintenance department. So I think we'll try to let them have that piece of it. I don't think Bonnie was spraying any of that stuff anyway, unless it was maybe the combined courthouse up there or something. That might be the one area we might have to do some focus. Within that RFP, I've identified the county properties that I think we need to address. So before that goes out, we'll just circulate it amongst everybody, make sure we have our list correct, and we'll take it from there. I see the fairgrounds and the landfill are probably the two big ones. And talking with Mel, it sort of sounds like Bonnie was doing some spraying out there, so that's probably one we need to continue with. And then I did call Wagner Equipment, and so they told me that the machine, and I gave them the serial number and everything off of the machine that I found in the records. They said that machine is now classified as sold as of 1/30/2024. And what they said is they shut off all the GPS tracking equipment from that date forward. So we've got data from prior to this project, but we have no data apparently from that piece of equipment for this particular
Well, it'd still be
project.
good to see what it was producing.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. So according to the lady I talked to, she said there's no data coming from that machine. So
But I think we can turn it back on, right?
I think we can, yeah. Now, it sounded like there might be a cost associated with that.
It
That's
should
why
be
they
minimal.
turned it off, but we can sure investigate that.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry to take so long. You guys are probably almost late
But it
for
was
supper
listed
now,
as
but-
sold?
I'm sorry?
It
Yeah,
was
we're
listed
over-
as sold?
We're over it was on a 5-year lease.
Correct,
When
yeah.
we got that in 2020.
Okay.
I think it was 2020 or 2019, I guess would make it 5.
Because I remember, we would be coming up like only a year left on it, so they might have turned off the tracking.
Could have.
But I know it's close,
Yeah.
super close.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll, anyway, continue to work on that too.
All right, sounds good.
Anything else, gentlemen?
I would almost reach out. I mean, my thought is we did get quotes. We saw them
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I would almost reach out to that vendor and say, hey, what do you anticipate that you could, what's your production rate?
Oh, yeah.
Is it just for whatever acres a week? Because I think it could be different.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
would
can sure
definitely reach out to that vendor also. I
Okay.
think we had one quote. It would be worth a conversation.
Yeah, we did have one quote. And I think if we decide to want to move forward with some of that equipment, according to procurement policies, I think we need 2 more quotes on that. So if we decide to do that, I'll get those other quotes as fast as we can. But let me investigate with this one a little bit, try to get some information from them, and
Okay?
just get back with
Because
you on that.
till August, September doesn't, it's going to be a struggle.
Okay.
Okay? All right,
All
thanks,
right,
Shane.
thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it. All right, last but not least, Mr. Anderson and Mr. Bugg, we're going to talk about our percentages for our PSST. And Ian, I see that you've also sent out the language to all of us on the PSST. We just have to fill in the blanks and decide on what we're going to do or what we're not going to do after we talk to you gentlemen. So with that, Travis, take it away.
I'll let you run the machine as soon as it picks up. So today, we're just gonna be talking about the exemptions, and we've discussed exemptions quite a bit. And when we got some information back from the state, was it last week, Dennis?
Yeah.
Yeah, got some information back from the state. Their figures identified no exemptions.
So it identified everything that is mandatory exempt by the state.
But
So-
nothing that we could pick from.
Right. Yeah, they did not give us a breakdown of all the exemptions that you guys can pick from, what that would, how much that would monetarily take out of, you know, a tax percentage. So we didn't get that. So, but what we did get was, if you look, you guys, are they seeing this too, I guess?
So wait, just so I'm clear, this is not, so we're just gonna guess what the exemptions would be? We don't have any idea what?
If they chose to use
No,
any exemptions at all, then there would be less money than.
But we don't know how much?
No.
They couldn't give us that figure.
No.
So these are basically without any exemptions.
Well,
Correct.
These are with the exemptions that are mandated by the state.
Right.
But this-
That money that's
Correct.
already.
Not the exemptions we've
not
been
that we
talking
could-
about.
Correct.
Correct.
Right, not the choice of the 13 or 14 exemptions that were
Right.
potentially there. So this is just the overall total sales,
Correct.
the total retail sales.
Correct. So basically, the Montezuma County, the MC total is the total retail sales of Montezuma County as a whole. And then you have it broke down by the 3 municipalities, and then if you subtract those out from the total, then that would leave what Montezuma County only would be, which is any business that was outside of one of the 3 municipalities. So basically what it breaks down to is the total for fiscal '23 was the $959,324,000. They exempt out about $137,000, so that leaves the $821,999,000. So at the 1%, which we've talked about, would roughly would have brought in last year just over $8.2 million on a 1% sales tax. So you had started at a 1.4, but we didn't have enough data at that time to see really what was coming in. And if you would like, if we did a 1.4, it jumps all the way up to $11 million, which was more than anybody else felt was needed at this time. But yeah, that is one of the things that we could not get. Apparently with everybody, with all the things that are going on right now, with all the sales tax and all the property tax items within the state, between all of the special interest groups and everything that's been asked by the governor, that department is very overwhelmed at this point. So we were lucky to even get the data that we got.
Do you remember what was exempted in Mancos and Dolores and Cortez? I mean, Cortez exempted.
Cortez,
Almost everything.
Everything. So if you, hang on.
So is it Mancos and Dolores exempted nothing? right?
Nothing, zero.
Yeah,
Okay.
all of them exempted nothing, if I remember right. Yeah, because their exemptions are $300 and some thousand out of the 650%.
We had talked about the ag exemption, right? As the
That's
one
the
that
only
we
one
were-
that we had talked about. And I think we had 13 to choose from, 14.
Something like that, yeah.
So Cortez is a home rule, so they do their own. So let me get down. They exempt everything, I think. I'm pretty sure it's everything that can be exempted. Trying to find them. Home rule, there we go. Yep, Cortez. They do all their own. If you have to go in and look, it's pretty tough to look at. They pretty much exempt everything. So if you look back at the monetary amount, they're actually only collecting
About 50%.
50%. Yeah.
Yeah. They're
By exempting out so many
691
items that they
million.
have exempted, they're only collecting about 50% of what's out there. And we're not sure exactly what's in Mancus, but we have some speculation of, because Mancus has a bit of disparity on how much they must be wholesaling a lot of product out of some places, due to the fact that if you look at where Montezuma County total with no exemptions is compared to Dolores at no exemptions, are right in the same realm, which is basically just the exempted portion that's state mandatory, where there's some businesses in Mancus that must be doing a lot of wholesale sales because they have $18 million more in retail sales, but they're not making much more in actual, their percentage is way
Well,
skewed.
the Excelsior plant's probably all wholesale, isn't
But
it?
the Excelsior plant's in the county.
Oh, that's correct. It is in the county now.
Commissioner Copenhaver, I think, had some ideas, and it's a possibility, but it's,
I said, I told him where it come from.
so, he's had some speculation, we just don't know. And we can't get anything from the state to, there's a couple of businesses that do a lot of wholesale sales, where we just don't know if they're capable of $18 million.
Is that nut and bolt factory still over there?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think
What's
so.
that?
The nut and bolt factory?
Where that was, that's a marijuana
Okay.
plant.
It's a grow
That's-
facility,
it's a growing
correct?
facility. It's one of the first ones that was established.
And they do
in the
wholesale.
state.
So that could be a vast majority of the money. All
Everything out there, that's all that's in that building.
right.
Yeah,
That could easily
Big,
be,
Huge number.
right.
Yeah.
And then there's also the rafting.
The raft company there.
They wholesale.
exports all over the world.
Yep.
And I don't know how many employees she has in there, but it's probably 30
That's a big building.
employees, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
Which would be
and they
all
ship
wholesale.
all over the world.
But I mean, the marijuana,
So-
if it's an actual grow facility, then they
Well,
could
I
easily.
guess looking at the bottom line, the 1% then would basically take care of us
Correct.
at today.
With
Correct.
no exemptions.
With no exemptions,
If we
right.
correct.
Started doing some exemptions and you wanted to keep that figure, we would have to increase the percent.
My recommendation is you don't exempt anything, because you just stay on par with Dolores and Mancus. It's already, other than this town, and Cortez set theirs years and years ago. I mean, they're under the home rule deal, and they're also, if you look at those exemptions, they're not even in correlation to the list you can choose from today. They are previous listed out, or however they did that when they chose to do so.
So really, Ian, looking at your resolution, I think we have to set those right now, right? We have to.
So
would
the
we
way I
vote
wrote the
tomorrow
resolution, I've got
would be
the ag exemption.
percentage?
I've got the ag exemption in there right now, so if we don't want to do that, then I'll
We
pull
just
that
take it
out.
out, and then the percentage?
The percent.
Okay. So round number's 8 million.
Yeah, that would be off of last year's, and
Yeah,
we.
that's dependent upon, I mean, there's a variable.
Yeah.
I mean, if the community does well, sells a lot of stuff, we do well. If
Yeah, and
we
you have
don't,
some, and we've talked about in
Yeah.
the task force deal of, you've got Love's now, you've got the meat packing facility, you're gonna have another Maverick, you've got other facility things coming in, so I mean, it's possibly it could grow a little bit too, it's hard to say. So, but so does, every time those businesses come, then so does the use of facilities and 911 and everything else that
Right.
comes with that, so, yeah.
All grows together. So those are really now are the last two decisions we have to make, and we'll decide that tomorrow. But it looks like right now, the 1% pretty much covers it, with no exemptions, just to be consistent with Mancus Dolores. Okay?
And also, if you guys also remember with looking at that with everything, everything that correlates to this, you would have the ability to credit back pretty much every
Right.
penny in some form or fashion.
Okay. Questions?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Travis, anything else?
No, sir.
All right. Okay. Well then, I believe that is the end of our agenda, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, guys.